Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Seth the Programmer. Today we're going to check out, could 30 billion SpongeBob's actually beat Goku? I have no idea where this has come from. I don't know why he's doing this, but I can't wait to see the explanation as to whether they could or why they can't. Either way, I can't wait to see the calcs on this, or how he even starts calcing it, or what is this? Is this a new thing? Like SpongeBob's? That's a lot.
Beat Goku.
That's a lot.
30 billion. That's around 4 times the population of our entire planet.
Damn.
In SpongeBob's. This question was originally a video from Watch Fiction called How Many SpongeBob's to Defeat, where the creator just puts random arbitrary numbers of SpongeBob's to defeat certain characters.
This is addressing something else.
It take 30 billion exactly to defeat Goku.
Oh.
Which generated obviously a lot of memes.
This is interesting. Okay.
29 billion SpongeBob's being a stomp.
And then the last one.
Billionth one making a complete stomp in the SpongeBob's favor. While these are clearly memes, you've got to wonder
Love
just
it.
a little.
Could they actually do it? Yeah.
The answer, honestly, was a lot more interesting than I originally thought.
This is
so
boss.
First thing we should establish first, before we go over how strong our 30 billion SpongeBob's is, how strong is one SpongeBob?
Yeah, okay, yes, let's go for that.
On from there. SpongeBob is an interesting character, as obviously he is more of a gag character that uses Toon Force often. That seems to make him randomly absurd to the point he could suck up the entire ocean and turn as big as the moon in an instant.
Oh dear.
From a random orb inside of the same ocean he literally just destroyed. Getting punched by Flats the Flounder and taking absolutely zero damage.
This is interesting.
Being able to rip himself in half and immediately regenerate like nothing happened in a flash
Oh
when
my
he
God,
takes his pants off.
no.
I'm not joking. To being shown getting black eyes later. It seems somewhat inconsistent, but what if I told you it might not actually be? Many characters
Oh my God, this is gonna be
even
boss.
just the main characters in gag cartoons in general have a very special power, which is they almost always seem to have the ability to do whatever they think they can. Think they can is important because if the characters don't think they can do something, or they can they suddenly can't do that thing they were literally just doing.
Interesting.
Characters running on air, then realizing they're running on nothing, then fall immediately. Squidward being unable to breathe without seawater, but then when he's in a void of nothingness that clearly doesn't have water in it, he just doesn't care because he's not really thinking about
it. Interesting.
No
Wow, what?
Take him making a fire underwater being so different in so many scenes. So the mindset of SpongeBob is actually a huge factor when it comes down to him facing Goku, which I'll get into soon. Now that we've established the
So if he thought he could beat Goku, then
fluctuating power, let's actually go over the things he's done with said fluctuating powers.
okay.
Some lesser things he's done are such as him sucking in the entire ocean in an instant, to the point that he actually absorbs the ocean so fast that the energy to suck in that much water in around 1 to 2 seconds. Remember, the ocean is massive, weighing 1.347 by 10 to 21 kilograms, and being larger than all the land mass on Earth, with the entire Earth itself weighing 4.8 septillion kilograms.
Damn, and SpongeBob sucked that up in seconds.
This entire ocean in a second, resulting in many people speculating that the energy to sap up that much water that fast and make it disappear and condense into such a small area
This is insane.
would require as much energy as it would to detonate an entire planet beyond its gravitational binding energy.
God, what?
This is highly consistent as well because SpongeBob does this again, but he doesn't just fit the whole ocean in his leaf blower. By the way, these leaf blowers can be mass-produced and bought whenever, by the way. But absorbs so much water he becomes as big as the literal moon and actually replaces it outright, which once again he does in a matter of seconds and will require him to absorb the ocean at a speed at a few percentages of the speed of light. But as I said before, those are his really low-end feats. You have Plankton picking apart atoms to create nuclear explosions, or Patrick getting a brain freeze so intense it froze the entire
planet.
thousands of years. But SpongeBob goes a step beyond that. Season 11, episode 25 is an entire episode dedicated to a gag based around how pulling loose strings on clothes ruins them, to the point that SpongeBob literally starts destroying everything in Bikini Bottom from a string he pulls off of Squidward's shirt. The string pulls apart armor, buildings, and eventually, at the end of the episode, the string goes up a fishing line attached to an actual three-dimensional person. The string then erases the person
oh my
from
god,
existence, and SpongeBob proceeds to massacre the rest of Bikini Bottom by erasing an island and the entire ocean.
So he could travel through dimensions as well.
Stop there. He eventually goes into outer space, and while we see an entire galaxy, he just yanks it into nothing. But not only the galaxy seems to disappear, so does all the space around it as well. There are no stars or anything visible, as SpongeBob pretty much seems to erase everything that was visible before into a white void. If space and time are linked, this also means he likely erased time as well, and was just walking around in it. Shortly after, Patrick pulls a string off of SpongeBob and not only erases him, but the entire reality-slang string, and then flosses his teeth with it like nothing happened. This gives us a very similar picture to the Omni King Zeno from Dragon Ball Super, who after waving away an entire timeline is just floating around in a white void of nothing. Zeno is stronger than Goku, so if SpongeBob did something similar, then even one should be enough to beat Goku, right? Well, not exactly. What Zeno did was erase an entire timeline that contained dozens of universes and massive spaces in between them. SpongeBob is arguably destroying one universe if you are very generous. And some people will just grandstand that he only destroyed a galaxy, even though I don't think that was the intent of the scene. I mean, why have everything go white if he's only destroying the galaxy?
So he meant to be all reality within that universe.
Goku in Battle of Gods also was going to turn a macrocosm to non-existent by punching a god who was suppressing himself to Goku's level, and these macrocosms are massive and not only consistent with
stronger than that now.
but an even larger afterlife that makes universes vanish in its skies. So even then, and Goku still has a bit more going on at the start of even Super, but that SpongeBob feat, considering in One Punch Man they thought destroying some stars in the background was impressive. SpongeBob might make Saitama shit his pants. SpongeBob isn't done yet. Before we get into SpongeBob's other feats, I think this is a good chance to segue into SpongeBob's speed.
How fast is SpongeBob? Let's find out.
In space entirely, and if he was moving around in a spaceless and timeless white void, then that would mean he could possibly have been moving at a level of infinite speed. Not joking, as moving without time completely cracks the speed formula, speed being measured as speed equals distance divided by time. If there is no time but distance, this would have to be infinite, with some arguing it'd be even higher level of speed, known as inaccessible speed. This may be consistent if you consider the famous episode of SpongeBob in Season 1 known as SB-129, where Squidward goes inside a time machine to travel to the future and the past, and in desperation to get away from everyone and be alone, breaks the machine entirely and is sent to a white void, which Squidward calls nothing. Squidward himself seems to think this outside the past, present, and future, and maybe outside of time entirely.
Interesting.
If you want to be really skeptical,
this is such an interesting take on SpongeBob. I love it.
Describes the scene as Squidward simply getting knocked into another dimension rather than into a void outside of all of time and space. Likewise, SpongeBob's string scene could only be erasing what we saw in front of us rather than all of time space as well. Goku is able to move around in a similar situation where he goes to get the Omni King in his erased timeline. Many are confused how they traveled back to the Omni King if the timeline was erased. However, you could simply argue that the time machine opens up and leaves a wormhole tunnel that
which travels between
to reach certain points. These wormholes are how Fuse Zamasu seems to travel back to the past in the anime, and is probably how they went back into the future as well. There are other scenes, however, of characters like Jiren straight up surpassing the concept of time with his movement against Hit in the Words of Gods.
Very good example.
Characters surpassing instantaneous movements during the Granola arc, as well as characters potentially surpassing instant movement back in the Buu saga, as when Kid Buu blew up Earth, Kibito Kai does a technique called Kai Kai, back to his realm. Kai Kai being an instantaneous blip to any location, and Kid Buu blows up Earth before they can instantaneously blip to his planet despite how it's described. Either way, it's pretty easy to either deny or grant both a similar level of speed, but both can actually potentially go a step beyond that, especially SpongeBob. Goku's potentially higher feat is of course in his battle against Hit, where he potentially is fighting Hit on a level that lets him fight him as he skips into the future. possibly granting a minor form of immeasurable speed, as fighting beings that go through time with speed alone would break the speed formula entirely.
Okay.
SpongeBob 2 has something similar in an episode called Dungeons and Dragons in Season 4, and in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick are put into a medieval jousting match, and during this, the horses they are riding actually hit them away so hard and fast, it sends them flying to a medieval Bikini Bottom, where SpongeBob has to go on a basically Dungeons and Dragons-like quest. This could be them being launched back in time, and if so, these horses either just broke
that
time
fast
space to do this,
Yeah.
or hit them so fast it just sent them back in time on some old school turn back
Oh, wow.
Superman movie level feat. However, one thing to know is that on the actual YouTube buy description, which is the official description for the product by the license holders, it is stated they are simply transported to a medieval version of Bikini
Oh, okay, yeah.
rather than back in time. Personally, I'd say they just got launched back in time, but that is something you could say. It also makes you wonder how SpongeBob and Patrick actually scaled to the seahorses that launched them. Although you
This
could
is
say they could
madness.
scream and flail around from the
This
launch,
video is so
but they could
good.
move around while being launched at potentially immeasurable speeds, as goofy as that sounds. Likewise, Hit's fee is not so concrete or accepted either, with many people thinking Goku probably was overpowering Hit's hack's ability to paralyze people, then becoming immeasurable in speed, which is why he wasn't breaking the time skip until he got a very linear 10 times increase to his speed, which doesn't make any sense for that to equate to beyond infinite speed increases. It also makes less sense when the feat Jiren does later in Super is then considered beyond time, but what Goku does apparently way earlier isn't, and in the manga it is literally just him overpowering Hit's paralysis hacks as well. Well,
Right.
Seth, both SpongeBob and Goku have some arguable speed feats that could put them higher than the other if you take it charitably or not, but Goku's still pretty much just objectively stronger, right? Not exactly.
Okay.
SpongeBob still has something up his sleeve. How smart is Patrick? I mean, honestly,
Love the Death
how
Note
smart
music,
is
let's
he?
go.
Of course, we know that when Patrick plugs his brain in, he becomes hyper intelligent with the whole episode being based around it. But when he unplugs his brain, does it actually really all go away? Well, kind of. But perhaps some vestiges are left behind. A good example of this, did you know Patrick is actually the only person in pretty much the entire series to acknowledge the parallel universes exist within mirrors? SpongeBob actually tries denying this after Patrick brings it up, but we are immediately confirmed Patrick is in fact correct. Looking into another mirror does in fact create another universe and reality entirely.
Because SpongeBob talks back to him, yeah.
In SpongeBob, there seems to be all kinds of alternate realities that even 2D things seem to spawn into or from. Take, for instance, this guy on Mr. Krabs' dollar bill coming to life and running from SpongeBob's string in the string episode. Not only do these things seem to spawn in mirrors or drawings, etc., but SpongeBob can actually interact with them. Take, for instance, in Season 2, an episode called Something Smells, where SpongeBob, who has extremely bad breath, actually discuss and affects a reflection in the mirror. These dimensions have
This is
also
so mad.
can even create monstrous images and so forth. But Seth, what is the significance? Why do we even care if Patrick is right? Are we going to argue that SpongeBob's string ripped apart a bunch of alternate universes because of mirrors? Well, maybe. Not a bad idea, actually. But no, in Season 2, Episode 23, the episode almost right after 22A, Something Smells, by the way, SpongeBob asks Patrick what is a goal of his, in which he gives a pretty popular line.
I want to defeat the giant monkey man and save the ninth dimension!
In which SpongeBob replies, that might be a little hard. Think smaller. And Patrick then says, I want to defeat the little monkey man and save the 8th dimension, with a lot less enthusiasm. And Patrick actually does have good cosmological awareness
Oh
that
my
this
God,
ninth
this is insane.
dimension may actually exist. The 9th dimension is also mentioned by Bubble Buddy in a video game as well, and while we don't know exactly how SpongeBob and Patrick can interact with a higher dimension, albeit SpongeBob doesn't seem to think it's impossible apparently, there's also something that pretty objectively could that's called the Magic Book. The Magic Book is a book that contains the whole story of SpongeBob. By interacting with and altering this book, characters can rewrite reality with it, considering there are multiple universes, possibly infinite using the comics, and potentially up to the 9th dimension. You can see how this book could be utterly broken if it could work the way it does in Dragon Ball than it does in SpongeBob. Considering Goku is at most a 3 or 4th dimensional being, if you consider him being able to destroy the dimensional space that holds 3D universes together as high dimensional, Even the most upscaled giga-length versions of Goku only cap off at fifth or sixth dimensional, and those are using some very disagreeable methods for the most part. The magic book would potentially be able to erase Goku even then, but this is highly questionable as it could just sort of be like an Infinity Gauntlet situation where some Infinity Gauntlets only work in the fiction or universe it is made in, just as an example.
Right.
The last thing SpongeBob has is the pencil. You know, the one that Doodlebob uses that can sort of just erase everything like it's a drawing. Would this have an omnipotent gag power and just erase Goku? Potentially. But we've never seen the pencil actually erase anything too absurd, and with the string actually doing more, funny enough. Goku is also somewhat of a pseudo-gag character.
So then we times these abilities by 30 billion, though.
Actually a gag character.
Yeah, he is. He broke the Mind Panel, yeah.
Rabbits on the moon, alongside Krillin and many others. And this is why when he fights an absurdly strong gag character named Arale, he seems to be actually pretty pitched with her, rather than getting utterly blown out like Vegeta was. With gag powers not even working on some characters, like Beerus the God of Destruction, so even the pencil's usage is actually kind of questionable. But with 30 billion SpongeBobs and all the crazy things he could whip out, the pencil, breaking time and space, the magic book, eventually a few SpongeBobs are going to put something crazy together. Well, assuming they all don't think Goku would beat them and Goku just becomes super
because they need to think they can win.
Erase them all in an instant or something. But in character, things would probably get really insanely hard for Goku, and I wouldn't be surprised if eventually Goku actually does get bamboozled by something, as their versatility is just insane. Goku's weaknesses include the need for oxygen, which can easily work in
That's what I thought, like, he can breathe underwater, so he can breathe in space.
One-tap Goku with a karate chop. Thanks for watching.
Wow. Wow. What an interesting video. So SpongeBob wins. I can't believe what I've just watched. I've just watched SpongeBob be power scaled based off of all the mad stuff that's happened. That was a fun video. That was awesome. I love that so much. My God, how unnecessary but awesome that was. That was so good. That was so freaking good. I love it. Do SpongeBob vs. Silent. Anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link in the description of the Patreon page. $1 off will access the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys all. You guys next time. Bye.